Failure is part of the process. So what I mean by that is a lot of times you get up and you start a company, and I actually joke around with new entrepreneurs today. I'm like, hey, can you hurry up and just fail so we can get on with this? Right? Because it truly is that way. I started a company when I was 18 called Maritime Vacation. And Maritime Vacation came because my dad owned a cottage, and he heard about this thing called the internet in 1999, and he said, hey, Dan, could you create me a web page so I can rent my cottage? Because every time he got a call, it was like he almost wished he could record that, you know, how many bedrooms, where is it located, when is it available, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, hey, will a web page fix this for me? And I'm like, yeah, I think it might. So I thought about it more. I said, well, Dad, how many people like you that own cottages in Eastern Canada, where I'm from, you know, that rent them out? And he said, there's probably 200 or 300. And I was thinking in my brain, like 200 or 300 people paying me for this thing. There's a little bit of business here. So I convinced, I said, Dad, I'll do it, but you need to pay for the web hosting. Because I had no money, I was 18. And he said, cool. So he was like, how much is web hosting? I'm like, $50 a month. And he actually thought that was expensive. In his brain, he was going, $600 a year, no way. Because I needed somebody to pay for the hosting for the other customers I was about to get. But finally, through some tactical negotiations, we got it figured out, and I started working on this site. Now, what most entrepreneurs do is they build, and then they realize that it's really hard to find customers for what they built. But I thought I was pretty clever. I said, I'm going to try to figure out if I can pre-sell this website. And the question I asked myself is, where are all the other cottage owners? Like, where are the people like my dad? Where do they hang out? And I was talking to a friend about this problem, and he said, there's actually this book that the province of tourism, or the tourism department of our province puts together every year called Canada Select. And in this tourism book, there's every bed and breakfast and cottage rental in the province listed there with name of the owner as well as their location. And I thought, what if I sat down and inputted that into an access, this just dates me, an access database. I don't even know if that exists anymore. Anyways, an access database, and create a mail merge using Word, and send out this form letter. So one Friday night, I stayed up all night. My dad thought I was crazy. He thought I actually was working on his website. And I'm like sitting there with this pamphlet open, just typing in all the names and addresses, and I was like cranking through it. It was just like this mindless work, and I just knew I had to get through it. And then finally, the next morning, I woke up and I hit print, and in these envelopes, I stuffed this letter that said, hey, you may have heard of this internet. You rent a cottage or a bed and breakfast. If you'd like a web page for your bed and breakfast or cottage, just send me, fill out this form and send me a check for $30. And if you want, you can include some photos, but add $5 if you want your photos back. And I stuffed all these envelopes, put the stamps on them, and sent them off in the mail. And I thought, maybe 1–2% of the people might respond. So anyways, I go back to school. I don't think much about it. And like 3 or 4 days later, my dad comes into the house, and he's got like a stack of envelopes. And he's like, Dan, what the heck is this? Why do you have... And I'm like, holy shit. I start opening them all up, and there's checks, and people put money in the mail. I don't know. I would never put dollar bills in the envelope and send it through the friggin' mail system. And they like detailed responses to their form with the photos, and and that was the first time. And I always joke with any entrepreneur, if you build a website and you put something online, and you can get somebody that doesn't know you, not your cousin, not your uncle, not your best friend, to pay you $1, you've gone pro. Like, you are a legit pro entrepreneur in my eyes. Anyway, so at 18 years old, I kind of got a taste for what it was like. And the unfortunate part, and why failure is part of the story, is I actually called the site Maritime Vacation, .ca. The total market size for this site was about 350 listings. And I actually got domination at the beginning for a year, and then other bigger players like atthecottage.com came out and converted all those customers I acquired to their platform. I decided to pick on too small of an idea, but I learned a lot.